Hello, am I audible?
Can you hear me, Raj?
Yeah. Can you? Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me get my video on, huh? Okay, that's brilliant.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Can you start?
Yeah, sure.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's interactive session. Today, Essentially Sports is privileged to be joined by the former British elite heavyweight Larry Olubamiwo, who is also an actor now. Thank you so much for joining with us, Larry.
No problem.
We all know that the entire world is still in the dangers of COVID-19. The trouble is still prevailing, and England just recently saw a new strain come out of nowhere. So, how are things back there right now?
It's getting better. I mean, the cases have gone down, deaths has gone down, which is great. We've recently just had the country open up a lot more. Gyms are open now, thank God. So yeah, it seems to be going well. It seems to be going well. Obviously, there's a lot more to happen and to open up, but generally speaking, it seems to be running okay.
I believe that you already had your shooting on board when the entire COVID-19 breakdown happened. So, how did you manage to pull off? You all had to maintain the medical discipline at the same time you have to act as professionals. So, how was your acting career at that point?
Well, actually, if you're talking specifically about Venom 2,
Yeah.
I actually see, this is the misconception a lot of people have, because the way the story's been written. It makes it look like I recently just filmed it or I'm just about to film it, when in reality, I actually filmed that in January last year, almost a year and a half ago. So that was just before COVID hit. So it didn't affect my my filming at all. But the reason why we were only allowed to talk about it now is because basically we've just been given the okay from production, from Sony Pictures, to able to talk about it now. So for the longest time, my agent was telling me, don't talk about it. So yeah, unless you're a star like Tom Hardy, Woody Harrelson, Naomi Harris, you're not allowed to talk about these things. So I had to wait until my agent gave me the okay. Well, basically, if Sony gave her the okay, and they did just now. So yeah, it didn't affect my filming, but I know a lot of actors who are filming at the moment, and they're going through a lot of protocols even before they even get on set. So it's affecting them quite a lot, and I'm guessing, obviously, when I get my next job as an actor, it's going to affect me a lot as well. But it's all good. It's all good. It's a necessary thing that we have to go through at the moment.
Now, what was your initial reaction when you got to know that you're going to be a part of Marvel's Venom? The 2018 movie was actually so well accepted by the fan. People love to see an anti-hero get so much appraisals on the screen. And the boxing fan, the news broke out like a wildfire that you are going to be a part of the Marvel venture. So how did the role land up to you, and what was your initial reaction?
So basically, as you know, I've been an actor for a while now, after my boxing career. And so I was filming in Ireland for a children's BBC comedy series called Almost Never. And while I was there, I got the call from my agent, Rosie Lloyd, that I've got an audition when I come back to London for Venom 2. And I was, I'm a big Marvel fan, so I was ecstatic. So I got the script and I was rehearsing it and reading it, learning it. Came back to London, went to see the casting director, which is Lucy Bevan, who's a really big casting director. Auditioned in front of her. And I think that was in September sometime. And I heard nothing about it until December. And then my agent called me up and said, right, you've got a role in Venom. And I was like, but it's so long, what's happened? Are they still filming it? But she goes, yeah, on big productions like that, it can happen. You can do an audition and months later get the call that you got the role. So yeah, it was obviously I can't describe how happy I was. I was just extremely elated. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, so filmed the role, was directed by Andy Serkis, who's an amazing talent, an amazing guy as well, such an amazing guy. Met Naomi Harris on set, she's amazing. And yeah, it was a really cool experience. It was really cool. Being directed by Andy Serkis for me is like, you know, that you don't get much better than that, to be honest with you, in my estimation anyway.
Like in a way, he brought out the best actor from you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah. I mean, obviously that's the director's job, to get the best out of these actors, and yeah, 100%. He didn't even have to try anyway.
Especially you have been a Marvel fan, so I know that the kind of enthusiasm or the kind of passion you had coming to the movie. So I would believe that you really didn't have to dig deep because you are already were aware of the character that you're going to play, or Venom because you have been a Marvel fan. Any other characters in Marvel you would love to play in future, or you looked at and said that, okay, maybe I should have tried my hands into this character?
I think so. When Marvel's Luke Cage came out in Netflix, I got inundated with so many calls saying, Larry, why are you not Luke Cage? Because that just suits me. You know, the look, the physique, everything it just suits me down to a T. And to be honest, I am a big Luke Cage fan. And yeah, obviously, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Michael Coulter, who played Luke Cage. I love his portrayal of Luke Cage. He did a fantastic job. But I do know that Luke Cage will be coming to the MCU at some point. And when he does, I would like to portray him. So if Kevin Feige's watching it, please let me become Luke Cage, MCU Luke Cage. But yeah, I would love to play Luke Cage. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to play any comic book character, because I'm a lifelong comic book fan. Like, you know, not just Marvel, DC, even the some of the obscure comics like Valiant. You know, I'm a big fan of those. But obviously the main two are Marvel and DC. And yeah, Luke Cage or anything regarding Black Panther. You know, they're doing a Wakanda series soon. I would love to be involved in that in some capacity if I can't get Luke Cage. So, but yeah, Luke Cage would definitely be my number one choice. And you know, as I said, they're going to be bringing all the Netflix Marvel characters into the MCU at some point. So that is definitely a role that I would love to campaign for. Yeah.
You're someone like you have donned a lot of caps in your life. You have been a boxer, you've got this martial arts training, and now you have been acting with Tom Hardy. So how was it acting with Tom Hardy? Did you guys talk about anything boxing, or was it all about films and your scripts?
Well, I never got to meet Tom Hardy. I never got to meet. So that kind of tells you straight away I'm not in any scenes with Tom Hardy. But I would have loved to have met him. I never got to meet him because while I was working, because we were filming it in Warner Brothers Studios in Leavesden, Leavesden Studios and Warner Brothers Studios. So it's a massive studio. So we were filming in one lot and Tom was doing his bit in another lot. So yeah, I never got to meet him, unfortunately, but hopefully I'll get to meet him in the premiere. Yeah. In the premiere, yeah. But obviously, like I said, I got to meet Naomi Harris, who plays Shriek, Carnage's love interest, and she's lovely, absolutely lovely person. Didn't speak much about acting with her, just generally chatted, you know. And same with Andy Serkis, although he was extremely busy during filming. So, but yeah, those two are just lovely, lovely people. And I know there's always a saying that you should never meet people you admire because you'll be severely disappointed. But I wasn't in those two. They were really, really nice people, you know. And I'm sure Tom will be as well, because I've heard nothing but good about Tom Hardy as well. So, yeah.
It seems that the shooting is almost done. People are excited to see you in action on the screens. People are excited about the entire Venom 2 movie. When can we expect it to hit the theaters?
So that's been the problem with Venom 2 being released because of the whole pandemic. The original release date was actually last year, October. And this is why I mentioned that so filming was actually finished, I think by February or March last year, filming was finished. To be ready to release it in October. But obviously with the pandemic, that never happened. So then it got moved to June 25th this year. And then obviously because the whole world is still trying to get back to normal, it then got moved to September 17th, then got moved again 1 week to September 24th. So at the moment, September 24th is the release date, and I think it will remain that date for now because I think there's been great success in the cinema with Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
So I think all the film industry realizes now that things are starting to get back to normal and that they can make the money that they expect to make on films. I mean, we've got to remember that the first Venom film grossed 856 million at the box office. So realistically speaking, Sony are expecting this to gross $1 billion, which I would expect no less, to be honest with you. The first film was brilliant. I haven't seen the second film yet, but I know it's going to be brilliant. With Andy Serkis being a director, Tom Hardy's, doing his thing. Me in it, of course.
Yeah, we need to put some respect on these names.
So yeah, I expect no less, and I'm sure it will gross $1 billion or very close to it. So yeah, September 24th is the release date as of now.
So as you said that you have been a comic book fan all your life and already being a part of a Marvel venture. So does that open you for doing DC roles if you are offered with in the future?
Yeah, 100%. Because I'm a DC fan as well. I know you get a lot of people who are either Marvel or DC. I don't subscribe to that. I read many Marvel comics as a child, and I read many DC comics as a child. I read the Batman, the Superman, the Martian Manhunter. What other ones? So many. Flash. Loads of DC characters I love. So yeah, I wouldn't care which one approached me and to be honest, I think the fans in general need to get away from this either or mindset because as you can see in the film world, you've had James Gunn, who worked on Guardians of the Galaxy, is now working on Suicide Squad, and then he's going to go back to Guardians of the Galaxy. So they root for each other because if Marvel succeed, it helps DC. If DC succeed, it helps Marvel because it's all one genre, So they're not looking at it like, oh, we're against each other. They're all for each other, and that's how the fans should really be thinking as well, So yeah, to answer your question, I don't care.
It's quite evident that you have been enjoying your acting career and you have really been doing good. You're already a part of such big movies. You already plan to get involved in the big movies ahead. But somewhere down the line, do you miss your boxing career?
Yeah, I've had this question asked to me quite a few times, and I'll be honest with you, I don't miss boxing. The way boxing is a very, a lot of sport is murky, but boxing in particular is quite murky. The dodgy dealings, the behind the scenes stuff that goes on. It's not. Let me put it to you like this: I've got a son coming, and if he told me he wanted to be a professional boxer, I wouldn't be thrilled. Obviously, I would never get in his way. He wants to do what he wants to do, but I would warn him against the dangers of professional boxing. Amateur boxing as a sport, fine. Professional boxing is no longer a sport; it's a business. And with a business, there comes a lot of shady things that go on. So yeah, I don't miss. I mean, the only thing is that I do miss is the camaraderie amongst the other boxers that I trained with. You know, we'll train together, we'll have a laugh together, that sort of thing. I do miss. You know, and I still box. I still do a lot of boxing training for myself now to keep fit and to keep sharp for any other roles that might come in the future. But in terms of being punched in the head for a living, no, I don't miss that at all. And I'm very grateful to Allah that He spared my faculties, because, you know, as you know, it's a dangerous sport. A lot of guys come out of the sport damaged, and I'm very privileged and very thankful that I've come out the other end with my faculties intact, with my health intact, and I'm able to pursue other things, obviously the acting. So yeah.
Now, when you look at the recent scenario, a lot of veteran boxers are returning back to the sport. We have seen Mike Tyson come back. We have seen Roy Jones Jr. do that against Tyson. Oscar De La Hoya is going to stage his comeback. So can we expect you to do the same? Like, do you even have that kind of interest? Okay, maybe in an exhibition bout where you might not have that kind of dangers. Like, do you plan on getting into an exhibition fight?
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind that. See, that aspect actually does intrigue me. I wouldn't mind doing exhibition bouts with, because obviously when I heard about the Eddie Hall Thor fight, those two strongmen who are going to fight, that intrigued me actually. And then when I heard Thor talking about how he wants Tyson Fury next, I don't know whether he was joking or if he was serious, but you know, I'm like, I actually put on his Twitter, well, before you look at those high levels, come and fight me first. You know, that kind of fight, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind, because I know, no disrespect to the guy, but he isn't a boxer. So I wouldn't feel in danger in that sort of scenario. I've also put it out there that, because I've seen Kai Green try to get into a bit of boxing, you know, the bodybuilder, I wouldn't mind fighting him, you know. So those kind of exhibition fights do intrigue me, and if the right offer came along, yeah, I'd consider it definitely. Yeah, but in terms of, you know, getting a license and becoming a professional boxer again, I'm completely done with that. For me, the novelty of fighting, you know, a bodybuilder or a strong man who think that they're quite proficient in a sport, that's what intrigues me. And like I said, the right offer came along, I'd be open to it.
Now, we have also seen this celebrity boxing thing or this exhibition fights taking a toll in the recent times. And it has kind of split the entire boxing world into two halves. There are people who believe that this is actually putting a lot of non-fight fans into the mix. It's garnering attention. And there are people like Canelo Alvarez, as you know, who said that this is absolutely a disgrace to the sport. It's actually putting a dent on the spirit of boxing. So which side are you actually on? Like, is these exhibition fights actually a boon or a curse to this sport?
So I will admit, when I first saw these guys doing these exhibition fights and earning a lot of money from it, I might add, namely KSI versus Logan Paul. That was the first big one, and they made a lot of money. I was against it purely because, obviously, being a former professional boxer, I know that when you start out in a sport, unlike most professional sports, you don't start out earning great money. Like, for instance, I could become a professional tennis player, and straight off the bat, I can earn enough money to live comfortably. You know, that's not the case with professional boxing. Professional boxing, you are probably most likely working a full-time job and trying to train at the same time. Unless you've won an Olympic medal, that's the reality of sport. So in that sense, I wasn't happy about that. And I did think it brought a mockery to the guys and girls who are starting from the bottom and trying to work their way to the top. But as I saw the model for this, I realized that it could be incorporated into smaller whole shows. So for instance, let's take the Eddie Hall fight. You've got that as a headline. You can now have the smaller guys who are just starting out fighting on the undercard so that they can reap some of the benefits of those, and then have that exhibition fight as the main event. I think if it can be done like that, then it could benefit the sport. It could benefit the sport. So I think it all depends on how the people who are organizing it use it, basically. And let's see. I mean, I don't have any, knowing boxing the way I do, I don't have any hope that's going to happen. But you know, you never know. You never know. But I'm hoping that maybe an entrepreneurial boxer who's climbing the ranks can also start to be a promoter and promote these things on YouTube, you know, and maybe that will start to give these big promotional outfits a run for their money. So, you know, we'll see. Because I remember Eddie Hearn was very against the first KSI Logan Paul fight until he saw how much money it made, and now he's involved in it. So you see what I'm saying? Money talks at the end of the day. This is the reality. So, yeah.
Talking about Eddie Hearn, I don't know whether you're aware of it or not. He recently said that he's planning to monopolize the sport of boxing. Like, he's planning to take it all under his banner. And Matchroom Boxing is already one of the biggest promotions in the world. It's giving steady competitions to all the other biggies like Top Rank and other promotions. And he is already planning to take it all under his banner. So if that happens, let us imagine that it happens for a while and Eddie Hearn is the sole promoter in the sport. Will that be beneficial for boxing, or like, will that be a curse actually?
It'll be an absolute curse. I mean, we've seen it in all walks of life, not just in boxing. Monopolies never work out well. Yeah, that just wouldn't be good for boxing, and I pray that doesn't happen. I've got nothing against Eddie Hearn, but having a monopoly like that is just not. It's not conducive to the welfare of the fighters, to the fighters getting paid well, should I say? Because once you're a monopoly, you dictate the terms, and there's no competition. So, and actually, Eddie Hearn came very close to that in UK boxing when when Sky only had him as the only promoter promoting shows on Sky. He came very close to that, and I do remember the wages for the boxers going right down because they didn't have any competition until Warren came out with his Frank Warren came out with his Box Nation, and now he's on BT Sports. He has some say, and now the money's gone up slightly. So yeah, that wouldn't be good for the sport at all. I hope there's a few promoters in the UK and in the US to give each other competition, to be able to make sure that the fighters get, their pay is not as low as it has been in the past when monopolies were in play. Yeah.
Looking at all the stances that these boxing promoters put on the display, fans often put a lot of heat on them as well. And there are several people who believe that UFC as a whole has surpassed boxing in terms, like in the past few years, it has seen a steady rise, and a lot of people feel that UFC has somehow overpowered boxing. Do you feel the same, or do you feel that boxing still has its own market?
Boxing still, most definitely, boxing still has its own market, but as a martial artist as well, I can appreciate the UFC and mixed martial arts in general, because obviously the UFC have brought out a lot of their competition, but there's still organizations like Bellator around who are still quite huge, who can give them a run for their money. But the ethos of the UFC in general is that everyone fights everyone, and so there's no ducking. There's no, oh, we're gonna wait. There's basically a fight in boxing. Mayweather versus Pacquiao would not have happened that late when they were both, especially Pacquiao, was past his best. That would have happened in their prime if it was in the UFC. And that's what the UFC has over boxing right now. They make sure guys fight at their prime against each other. No one's ducking each other. And that I think is what boxing needs to bring to the table. You know, boxing has a rich history, so it's never going away. It's always going to have its fans. You know, at the end of the day, I know a lot of UFC fighters. I know a lot of boxers, obviously, and boxers still earn, on average, more than UFC guys, even at a lower level. So, where obviously the mixed martial arts in general and UFC in particular has gone up in fandom, but it still has a way to go in terms of remunerating the athletes, you know, on a par. So yeah, I think they can both coexist with each other, and I don't think one necessarily negates the other. You know, I think they can coexist quite well. Yeah.
Irrespective of all the competition these fans put, heavyweight boxing has always been the prime factor of the sport. Like heavyweight boxing has never run out of elites or its star powers. And being a heavyweight yourself, you already know that there's a unification clash between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury that is already on the work. So who do you favor in this fight?
It's funny because I know both of them. And to be honest, I've always said it. I think Tyson Fury would win that bout as long as they're both in good shape. You know, they're both trained well. I feel Tyson Fury will win that fight. I just feel that Tyson Fury is a bit special. He's a bit special. And don't get me wrong, Anthony Joshua is a good fighter, very good fighter, and he's proven that numerous times. But Tyson Fury has also proven that he's very special. He's very special. You know, a guy that can come out from what was it, a year plus layoff, you know, being grossly out of shape, and come in and give the champion a run for his money and arguably win that fight, which I personally thought he won. You know, come up from 2 knockdowns, the second one looking like he rose from the dead. You know, it's crazy how talented that guy is. And it's funny because we became pros around the same time. We were coming up together. And there was even talk at one stage of me and him fighting when he had the English title. Thank God that never happened. But yeah, I think, and I think you only have to look at how both of them handled Vladimir Klitschko. You only have to look at that fight. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, Joshua knocked him out. Well, he struggled life and death before he knocked him out.
Yeah.
Whereas Tyson Fury comfortably handled him. Comfortably. That wasn't even close, you know? And that shows you the difference in caliber of those two. And again, don't get me wrong, Anthony Joshua is a very, very good fighter. He's proven that many times. But I just feel like as long as Tyson's got his head screwed on and he trains very well for the fight, I can't see a scenario where he loses this fight. You know, I can't see it. But anything can happen. It's heavyweight boxing, as you said. One punch can change a fight. So we shall see. We shall see.
Talking about this heavyweight boxing, obviously Britishers are given the first priority because both the champions hail from England. But maybe fans have forgotten that there's another interim WBC champion in Dillian Whyte. Do you feel that Dillian Whyte has the power or the potential to outclass Joshua or Fury? Like, can he be the X factor that like shocks the world and puts out both the champions from the mix?
Well, he's not actually champion. He's an interim.
He's an interim.
Yeah. So he's not actually champion because Tyson Fury's got the WBC belt. So yeah. So, and this is why I hate all these interim and, you know, all the diamond. It's all nonsense, you know. So he all he is a mandatory contender. That's basically what he is. And does he have a chance of beating Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury? No. Don't get me wrong, he's a good fighter. I'm not, you know, trying to disparage him. He's a good fighter. But while those two are still around, he's not going to get a sniff at the title. because we've seen what happens when he fought Joshua the first time, and arguably, while Dylan White has improved, so has Anthony Joshua. So I can only see that scenario happening again. And in terms of fighting Tyson Fury, that wouldn't go so well for Dylan. That wouldn't go very well for Dylan. I can see Tyson Fury stopping him, you know. So yeah, I just feel like while those two are around, that he hasn't got a chance of winning the title. When those two retire, or you know, because I've got a feeling that regardless of who wins between Fury and Joshua, I've got a feeling Fury will retire afterwards. Probably Joshua as well, but definitely I think Fury will retire afterwards. Then I would say Dylan's got a chance of winning a belt or two, you know, while you know, even if Joshua's there, he can get a belt or two and they can have a unification clash. But as it stands right now, I don't feel he's got a chance of beating those two. I don't even think he's got a chance of beating Deontay Wilder, to be honest with you. And he's another contender. So
yeah, they're in the talks, like Wilder and Wilder in talks to fight each other.
Yeah, I think. Actually, let me qualify that. I think he has a chance of beating Wilder, but I think Wilder would definitely be the favorite in that fight. And as Wilder's proven, he only has to hit you once, and the fight's over. You know. So and then there's other guys. There's Andrew Ruiz. Andrew Ruiz is still a very, very good fighter, and I've seen pictures of him lately in really good shape.
He was written against Chris Ariola, I think, in May.
Oh, okay. That should be a good fight. That should be a good fight. I could see him beating Chris Ariola quite well, and that's a good like comeback fight for him. So yeah, because Chris Ariola is a tough guy. So yeah, I, again, he's in the mix. You know, Parker is still in the mix. You know, he almost beat Dylan. He was just unlucky that he didn't start fast enough. So you know, there's quite a lot of healthy competition there. And you know, if Joshua and Fury are not there, I feel that Dylan won't have it his own way. You know, you got Deontay Wilder, you got Parker, you got Riz, so it's quite competitive. You know, yeah.
Meanwhile, Alexander Usyk has also entered the heavyweight division. Do you think that he's going to craft the way, or like, do you feel like there are many people who said that Usyk doesn't have the power to go against the heavyweights, but he really did a good job against Chisora. So do you feel that Usyk's entry is going to play a pivotal role in this entire heavyweight title picture?
I'm glad you mentioned his name because I totally forgot about Usyk. I totally forgot about him. And yes, he will have a lot to say because understandably, he is not a big guy. He's not extremely powerful like a lot of the heavyweights are. But as we've seen in the history books, you don't have to be a big heavyweight. I mean, Evander Holyfield wasn't a big heavyweight, and look what he did. And he wasn't exactly power packed, you know, in terms of punch power. Obviously, his physique was phenomenal, but you know, his punch power was average. But he still dominated. So it's been proven that, you know, smaller heavyweights can do very well if they have the skill set, and Usyk has that in spades, you know. He's a very, very skillful fighter, very skillful. And yeah, he's definitely one guy that his name has to be in a mix when it comes to being a heavyweight champion, especially when Fury and Joshua have gotten their fights out of the way. Because obviously those two are tied up because there's going to be a rematch, obviously, afterwards as well. So yeah, once those two got that out of the way, yeah, definitely his name is in the mix. Definitely, it's going to be very interesting.
I mean, when you look at the heavyweight division, you actually see the potential fights taking place. I mean, Joey Joyce is going to fight Alexander Usyk for the WBO mandatory spot. Fury and Joshua are on the brink of like facing each other, and Deontay Wilder is also reportedly going to stage his return soon. But when you look at the other divisions, like recently Ryan Garcia, WBC interim lightweight champion, he could have easily challenged Devin Haney for his WBC belt. But Ryan Garcia decided to go ahead with Fortuna, and Haney had to fight Linares. So do you think that heavyweight boxing is still somewhere ahead of the other divisions in the sport? Like, it still gets the fights, it still gets the most attention? the most
Yeah,
money.
it does. It does. It's still the marquee division. I mean, for a while, their welterweights were obviously with Pacquiao, with Mayweather. You know, you had a few other guys, and obviously you got that welterweight. At the moment, is still pretty good, but the interest is now back on the heavyweights because there's a lot of competition now. I mean, you mentioned Joe Joyce. He had a fantastic win against Daniel Dubois. You know, there's so many names in the hat now. You know, you got Lawrence Okolie, who's looking to move into heavyweight soon as well. Pardon me. Yeah, so anytime there's a lot of competition, healthy competition in the heavyweight division, there's going to be massive interest, and then that becomes the marquee weight class again. That becomes the weight class that everyone's interested in again. When there's not a lot of competition and there's not a lot of excitement, like there's no exciting fighters knocking everyone out, then people tend to gravitate towards the other competitive weight classes. So it's, yeah, at the moment, not only do you have an exciting guy in Joshua being heavyweight champion, but you've got a massive amount of fighters vying for that top spot as well. Actually, I would say the top spot actually belongs to Tyson Fury at this point, but Joshua's creating all the excitement for the most part at the moment. So I feel like it's a very healthy division at the moment, and it hasn't been like this since maybe Lennox Lewis had a title, you know. So I think all eyes will be on the heavyweight division for a few years. But that doesn't take away from, you know, the other weight classes. You know, you got lots of talented guys in the other weight classes, and I think because of that, the money that they earn will still be very substantial. You know, but heavyweight boxing always earns the most, you know, throughout history. So
Obviously, boxing has its own complications, but you have been into several other professions. You have been an actor, you have been into martial arts, and obviously, I understand all these three things have their own challenges, own thrill, have got their own unique features. But which one was more challenging and thrilling for you? Like getting into the acting zone or getting into boxing or MMA? Which was more thrilling?
Challenging, I would say acting. And that's purely because I came into it at a later age. And so I had to learn a lot of things very quickly. It's a very involved industry, and it's even just to learn how to become an actor, how to be a good actor is extremely hard. Anyone that's been to drama school will know what I'm talking about. You know, it's acting is an art in itself, and you know, even when I wanted to become an actor, Gary Stretch, who was a former professional boxer who fought Chris Eubank for the title, he was the one that convinced me to go to drama school. And yeah, it's and then not just the drama school aspect of acting, but then the whole business of acting. So no one tells you that once you've studied to become an actor, you now have to get on a website called Spotlight, but then there's criteria to get on that website where you have to do a certain amount of professional work. But to get that professional work, you have to have an agent. But to have an agent, you have to have done some professional work. It's such a, yeah,
It has got its
was,
own complications.
yeah, it's got its own very you know, complications, and you had to try and find the best way to navigate that. So yeah, I would say acting, but saying that, I would also say that it has with those complications came a lot of reward. And I know everyone's seeing me, okay, I'm in Venom 2 now, and that in itself is a reward. But even for me, just to get the agent that I've got now is a reward in itself. Like I've gone through 3 or 4 agents, and this is my 4th agent. And now I've got an agent which, because I'm represented by, in Britain, I'm represented by Narrow Road Company. and they're one of the biggest agencies in the UK. And my agent, Rosie Lloyd, is a fantastic agent. So now I'm getting the kind of auditions that I know can really boost my acting career, as you can see with Venom 2. And just to get that level of representation is a massive achievement for me. So for me with acting, the struggles pay off, because if you can persevere, you know that you will get somewhere eventually. How long it takes is another question, is another thing entirely. But you know that at some point, I mean, there was I don't know if you've ever seen Orange is the New Black.
I haven't seen it, but obviously I will put a check on it.
Yeah, but there's a show on Netflix, Orange is the New Black, and there's a woman on there that plays a character called Crazy Eyes. And they interviewed her one time, and she said that she'd been acting for 15 years, but she'd never really got to the place where she wanted to, and she was right about to quit when she got that role as Crazy Eyes, because it's a starring role for her. So that and you hear about that in acting all the time. It can happen like that. You can be slogging away for 10, 15, 20 years, you know, only getting bit parts here, get bit parts there. You think this ain't gonna go nowhere for me, and then you get a massive role, and then your career explodes, and you know, you never look back. So yeah, I mean, acting has a lot of rewards, and I think what I've learned to do is celebrate even the tiniest success, and yeah, it's I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm actually this is I enjoy acting so much more than I did enjoy boxing, which says a lot, you know.
So anything you would want to say to all the young aspiring actors or boxers who are really fighting their way or are struggling at this point to reach their goal? Anything you want to say, both for the actors and boxers or martial artists?
Basically, I want to say to them that they need to be strong, follow your dreams, and don't give up. And I know people hear that all the time, but I'm perfect proof of that. I mean, if people go into my history, they can see that I've had adversity, not just in life, but in boxing in particular. I've been banned, I've come back, you know, when on the road as a journeyman, you know, now I'm an actor. I've been plugging away at acting since 2012, you know, and it's only now that I've gotten a huge film. But even, you know, my journey as an actor has still got a hell of a long way to go. But you know, and that's the I want people to see what I've gotten now, like being in Venom 2, and realize that dreams can come true. Yeah, they can come true as long as you work at it. Obviously, they're not going to come true with you just sitting on your bum, you know, praying that they come through. You've got to, obviously you pray, but you also do the work. And if you do the work and you persevere, they can come true, you know. And I want people to see that, because I wasn't born into an acting family. I wasn't born into a boxing family, but I've managed to achieve some sort of success in both. And I'm still gonna, inshallah, achieve more success in my boxing. So for me, it's just about encouraging people to follow their dreams and not to give up and just be consistent. Okay, you might have a setback here and there, you keep going. You got another setback, that's cool, keep going, because setbacks are all part of life, you know. So yeah, that's the message that I'd like to encourage everyone to you know, take up.
Like, we want to wish you all the best for your upcoming movie, Venom 2. We are sure it's going to be a huge hit. People are going to love you, and we'll be really waiting for the movie to get released. So that was all for today. Thank you so much for joining with us, Larry. It was great interacting with you, knowing so much about your acting career, about your boxing career, like putting so much for the fans who really look up to you. And I am sure that we will reconnect again on different issues. So till then, stay safe, stay well. We wish you all the very best for all the ventures that you are involved with, and stay connected.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.